So obviously we're recording now, and Adam didn't know I was about to hit the button on our let everybody eavesdrop on our weekly glimpse, or we should call this the weekly eavesdrop of the Jerry Metcalf Partners Atlanta Market Chat. So anyway, we were talking a little bit. We've been talking a lot about how COVID has affected the market. There have been negative things, but obviously the market is still rocking. Prices have been going up drastically since, we need to look at the percentages, but I mean, prices are going up. We're back to where we were. We're ahead of where we were at the beginning of the year, and we're where we were this time last year to last year, but the trajectory is going to put us ahead as the year progresses. We appear to be making up for that. I think people still have a lot of questions about that. Some things about what's changing right now. We talked about things about there's a lot of cash, how are mortgages being affected, and how are we, again, going back to the multiple offer situation deals. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today, everybody. But before we say that, do you guys want to share any examples or any stories of what you're dealing with the market, things you see changing?
Mr. Vickers.
Crickets.
I'm usually waiting for Chad to chime in. That's his thing.
I'm just over here looking at myself with these.
He's
great
in my studio.
Studios.
We switched spots today, and he's loving the light. I am not, everybody. I've been trying to move the lamps around the office for half an hour. Anyway, Chad, do you have anything to say?
Well, in regards to just kind of what I've personally seen in the market, I think there's been a lot of investment, particularly out of state investment activity, people kind of flocking to Atlanta because it has been extremely resilient during COVID. So right now, I know I have an investor in LA, I have one in New York who just, are very interested kind of in that metro Atlanta market. All that to say, the reason why I mentioned that is because we were actually looking at a property that's been on the market for a substantial amount of time, about a year. And it definitely needed some things. It would have been a great investment property. And actually the day that we went to go look at it that evening, after being on the market for a year, it went under contract. And apparently, it was
before you guys could even get an offer.
Before we could even get an offer.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't, to be frank, we wouldn't have even gotten the contract because the offer that came was solid. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. I guess stuff that's been on the market for a long time is starting to go under because people are making changes and adjusting price accordingly.
An agent just walked by and is waving. He doesn't understand. We're recording the eavesdrop market chat. Okay, so that's why but anyway, no. So here's a question I think everybody's asking because to your point, Chad, a lot of houses have been on, the market is picking up. Days on market is still going down. Prices are going up. Supply is going up, but the market is making up for any supply. That's the rate of sales and is making up for that. What do you think it is that when a house is sitting on the market, and I know, Adam, you've had some similar experiences, is these houses that have been on the market a long time and all of a sudden they sell? Why is that happening to those houses and not to others? And
are you asking me or Chad?
Either one of you. Chad's trying to let you speak today.
Got it. It's
an unusual day.
It is unusual. He usually interrupts me, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of similar things, and specifically 3 times just this past week, I've seen that with some clients of mine going out looking at houses that have been sitting for a while and going under contract. A lot of it's been priced where they've either reduced the price of it or they've changed something inside of the house, whether it's updated a bathroom or change cabinet colors in the kitchen. Those things that will change dramatically for a buyer coming in looking at it, that's causing it to go under contract when it's been sitting prior to that. So I think that's what we're seeing. It's unique.
Exactly. When it's making a big difference. It's funny, HGTV, if I could have predicted it and I thought, oh great, everybody's going to want to buy a fixer-upper and fix it up. But what I find really happening, and I know HGTV is not new, but it's still affecting everybody's perception, is they see how nice things can be, and then they want it to just be ready for them. They don't want, there was a period of time where buyers were trying to do it themselves, and I think the word's out. You can do that if you want an extra job, but they've become more savvy in what update it is, and that's what they want when they don't want to go and do the work and take the time to do it. And obviously seeing the difference in value at the end of the day for doing that. Do you have any more explanation for that? Either one of you, or Chad, I'm going to go ahead and call it out, even though I think this isn't your favorite thing to be called out on, that you're a Gen Zer,
Right.
not even a millennial. What is your take on, we'll do quickly on that, why that is. And I'd love to go back into the momentum of the market and reasons why it might go down and why it might continue to go up. But if you've got any
About the
final
turnkey
says on that,
aspect.
and we'll have the millennial / close to, you're
old
close to my
man.
generation, Adam. Yeah, go ahead. First, Chad.
Yeah, so in terms of the turnkey aspect, I think a lot of it, it was the HGTV days a couple years ago, and Chip and Joanna and everything. And then people actually started to go and buy those true fixer-uppers, not realizing all the things that could go wrong, the amount of money, what is it, double your timeline, double your budget. So I think that, especially just kind of with the stricter lending limits now with COVID, so hard money and, fix and flip loans aren't going to be as easy to get, especially when they had the no doc loans, and it was starting to get back to super easy to get money. So I think now just kind of having everything wrapped together and turnkey, people are realizing that with COVID, they might be stuck in their house for longer than they, had expected or anticipated. So yeah, they might want, a pool.
Well, it may not be as easy to get contractors as expected.
Exactly. Well, and the price of labor has gone up too. So I think, all those factors mixed together definitely contribute towards buyers wanting totally turnkey.
So true or false, the newer buyers today, well, I'm going to make a statement first. The majority of buyers today are now first-time home buyers are buying later. And the majority of the money out there today is actually coming from what we're not discussing much at the moment, but baby boomers, the families retiring. You guys can speak to this on the early end, the first-time home buyers who are buying later. Their preferences appear to be amenities, not square footage. And it
100%.
turns out the same thing as of the baby boomers. And there's not a lot of that being built. But I think finally, after what we've been through, people are becoming less afraid of change. We're going to actually see what the inventory is changing to and finally meet the demand. Any comments on that?
I think you nailed it right there with the amenities, not as much the square footage. Outdoor space is huge. That's just kind of where accessibility, everyone's just really looking for that. And
yeah,
that's exactly where it's not as many people going outside the city trying to get these huge houses anymore. It's really just being close to friends and where they live, work, and play.
But it's funny because there's that market. And when you said that, it just made me remember in the second home markets, we do have a lot of people. I think a lot of people are just moving right now because everybody's realizing what they really want for once.
Right.
And they're making a change because Vail, Aspen, I know Vail especially is a really hot market. 30A, Destin is a hot market because people are going, wait, maybe I just want a whole different life now.
Mm-hmm.
Work from home, people are able to work from their second homes now.
Or people realizing they can work from home when they didn't realize how much they could get from home. Yep. We may have to bring Greg on, my husband, next week to talk about the office, the business world and how that's affecting people's leases and what their plans are. But back to this, another thing. So there's a lot of thought. Everybody, Chad's watching the time because he has somewhere to be in about 8 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up in 8. I can see his eyes darting to the time on the computer. I'm doing the same thing, Chad. But so about 8 minutes on this. We've got a lot of talk about the market's great. It's hot. We're seeing multiple offers, more than what we're used to in this market in Atlanta. On the flip side of that, we've been through COVID. That was rough. Why is it so good? And yeah, maybe it's good now because people are getting different funding. But then again, you go, okay, but what about the future? In the future, are we still going to are people still going to have that income? And what's going on and what are reasons why we might do better and we might not do better? We were talking before we started recording about income and lenders and how they're crediting income and rental income. Do y'all want to speak to that a little bit and what the changes have been from before, during, and as we think we're approaching after?
Chad, go for it. You just went through this.
Y'all know the answer. I'm just
about
how you see
50% of the rental income is qualifying income.
It is now. Before it, none of it was qualifying income, and there were no jumbo loans.
And I wonder if that part into just kind of, we saw with unemployment and those the pandemic unemployment, whatever, the PUA, the independent contractors are covered too. So Uber drivers, the gig workers. And
But that's going to run out.
It is going to run out, but I think what it will do is it's going to fuel kind of this alternative lending towards, the self-employed, and that's going to become a larger segment of it as well. And I think owner financing is going to become more popular and things of that nature.
You just gave a lot of listeners a heart skip a beat there, because a lot of people are opposed to that. That's interesting. Well, we've even done some creative owner financing / lease purchases, a couple of them recently. Again, we've done a lot of we've had a lot of cash buyers buying listings. So originally, first of all, the jumbo loans stopped, and then Wells Fargo was doing jumbo loans, but they were not doing them through third parties that were using Wells Fargo to do them before, only directly, which bombarded them, made things get postponed, made loans more difficult to close than they should be, even though the rates were great. And there were people applying for loans who thought, I've got plenty of income because they had so much rental income, and that wasn't being included. Now we're up to 50% of the rental income is considered part of your income to qualify for a loan. So that's really it's interesting how despite that, the market's still been going, and now rental income is being included again. And so that's also keeping our market going. Any other thing? I've got a lot of thoughts on this, and it's my question, but do you guys want to add anything to that before I add one final thought? And then we'll go into another thought on another touch on multiple offer situations.
No, I'm all set on that. I'm more interested about the multiple offer situation.
I love it. So I will say, Chad being the entrepreneur, and to Chad's point earlier about owner financing and different things like that, I also think that in a market like this, there's a fear of loss, and there's been a lot of loss. But every time there's loss or problems, it's opportunities, and it opens the door for business opportunities. What new businesses are starting now because of this, which is also generating income for people and cash in situations where they're also going to continue, or seem to be, at least so far, continuing to buy houses, and the market's doing really well. Let's go into, and I know we've all been dealing with some multiple offer situations. Adam, you and I have dealt with them together recently. On the multiple offer situations, give us a little bit about what we're seeing and what are some of the new terms people are using to secure a deal.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I know that we touched a little bit about it last week on just how people are doing slightly different things on whether it's appraisals or going above asking price, or the appraisal contingencies, how they're going to handle that as far as offering more than that, whatever the appraisal comes in at. Also, as what's been common in multiple other markets, not in Atlanta, is now starting to become common, is the option money, which is essentially a non-refundable down payment. And that really kind of sets you above others in a multiple offer on how serious you are, because you're putting skin in the game immediately with your offer. Sorry, go ahead. So that's something that we're starting to see.
Yeah. And some people would say, yeah, why would you do that? Because you've got earnest money up anyway. But earnest money, especially in the state of Georgia with a due diligence clause, you can terminate for any reason. So with the earnest money, you've got a free option. So this is a way of saying, okay, if you give me the contract, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars. And if I terminate for any reason, not I get the earnest money back, but if I terminate for any reason, this amount of money, Mr. Seller, you keep, because I want you to know that I'm not just bidding up because there are other offers, and I'm not just wanting to win, get this offer, and then back out when I decide I don't like it or I saw something better. But I'm going to stay, because again, we talked to this a little bit last week. Sometimes sellers, it's not even about it's about which buyer is going to stick, not just the highest price, because people start shooting that price up, and that's just a recipe again for buyer's remorse.
Yep.
So exciting market, everybody. Chad is watching that clock. I love watching those eyes dart over, because he is so serious about being on time. And Chad, you have about 2 minutes left. So I'm going to just remind everybody, he's admiring his glowing skin too. I'm very jealous. I want to be back. Everybody thought I had great skin, and then they saw me here, our lovely office today. Prices are up this year. Last year in June, they were $267, and that was the peak last year. Prices are still going up in July this year at $279. Everybody, that's average sales price of all of Metro Atlanta. We're going to cover all of Metro Atlanta to give you a bigger picture of what's going on here. Days on market is down to 20. It was down in April to 14, believe it or not. We're still down at 20. And normally we're at, maybe we'll be at 20 is usually the lowest, up to 30 days on market. And that is all price points all across Metro Atlanta. Sales have gone up. They continue to shoot up. We're at this month in June of 2020, we were at 8,768 sales in all of Metro Atlanta. And supply is actually, everybody I misquoted, supply was going up because we've had so many sales. Right now, supply is going down. So that's the scoop on the market. That's the chat. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We miss Bridget. She's rocking it. I think she's going to be back with us next week. But thanks, everybody, for listening. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Jerry.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Chad. Thank you to our ambassadors and clients for your support of Jerry Metcalf Partners, where our mission is to deliver the best service and the best results for our clients' needs, their wants, and their families.